Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend / my co-host, Devin. And today we're here to break down and give our insights on Causeway, which is now streaming on Apple TV+. This is one of A24's latest films to hit their portfolio, and Jennifer Lawrence is back. Very, very excited to talk about this with my co-host here today. But before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on podcast platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X. Or you can email us at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. Devin, how you been, man? I feel like it's been a while. I feel like I say that every podcast, but we are semi slowing down. Well, a bit of a breathing period now that we're not covering two shows at once. But how's your weekend been, buddy?
It's been a pretty good weekend. I can't think of a better movie to kind of slow down with than this one. Very much so a slow burn. Definitely.
It's one of those, like, I guess, slice of life or like quality of life films where, you know, it's a nice hour and 30-minute movie. It's not too long. It kind of gets its point across. And like I said before, you know, we get Jennifer Lawrence coming back. And of course, Brian Tyree Henry is accompanying her. They are the two main stars of this show, or they are the two main stars of this movie. Sorry, it's an early morning. You know, I got people coming over to watch some football later today. But yeah, no Steelers today, unfortunately. But
I think that's a good thing. I need a break.
I agree. I think we definitely need a break from the, I guess you can call it a disappointment altogether. But I mean, it is what it is, man. I think we need a nice little reset for all of that. But yeah, you've been chilling. It's, as of this recording, it's Stranger Things Day. So happy Stranger Things Day to everyone out there. The last two episodes of Volume 2 for Stranger Things 4 is streaming in like select theaters around the country. I was very sad I was not able to go, but you know, Atlanta's like a 5-hour drive. I would have done it if I had Monday off, but here I am. Here we are recording a podcast for a new movie that I hope that Devin enjoyed, because I did kind of push him to watch this after watching it myself. But Devin, are you ready to get into our review of Causeway?
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this introduction to Causeway.
I just never thought I would come back here.
You don't got love for this city?
It's not the city. It's that house. I'm the only one that made it out. I got a job.
You did doing what?
Cleaning pools.
What are you doing?
Pools. Cleaning them.
Hey, look, if it get dark now, you just ride it, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
All right, what's dog?
I work for the Army Corps of Engineers. Now I need them to clear me so I can go back.
You got blown up over there and you want to go back?
I've got to get away from here somehow. I don't know.
What happened?
There was a car accident on the Causeway.
I'm kind of on a lot of medication.
What kind of medication?
Like don't shoot yourself in the head kind of medication.
Okay.
I gotta get myself together. I gotta get through the storm, the weather. I got to get away.
Can you go back? Yes. Should you go back? It's a different question.
I just got to get away.
How the pool business going?
It's cutthroat.
Really?
No.
And we are back. You just heard a little snip of the trailer from Causeway. This director of the film is Lila Neugebauer. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. Neugebauer, I want to say. That's what it seems like. So I'm just going to go with that. And I do apologize if I butchered her last name. And of course, the cast stars Jennifer Lawrence, Brian Tyree Henry, and Linda Emond. Or Emond, excuse me, not Emond. I'm still in a Game of Thrones mood. I do apologize. No, we're recording on a Sunday and there's no Game of Thrones to have. So
too many Emonds and Emonds.
Emond. Hey, it is what it is. But the story is as follows. A U.S. soldier suffers a traumatic brain injury while fighting in Afghanistan and struggles to adjust to life back home. So the way this is going to go for everyone out there listening, if you are new to our podcast, welcome. The way we usually tackle these types of things is that we go through our initial reactions first, which is our non-spoiler section. And then we usually get into spoilers and we'll let you guys know once we hit that road. Although there's no spoilers in the story in this film, but we are going to talk about the ending. So I guess we can kind of use that as our spoiler section. And then we'll get into our final thoughts and ratings. And that's it. That's the end of the show. So, Devin, what did you think of Causeway? Because you just watched this morning, or was it last night?
I watched it last night.
Oh, nice Saturday night cool down. Going into the daylight savings time is ending, so that's a lot of fun. But yeah,
I actually stayed up to see the change. I didn't even realize it was happening. I was like, oh, it's 1 a.m. now. It was supposed to be 2.
Yeah, it still messes with me after all these years, man. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. It's worse when you forget that it's coming. And then like one day you're just like, what? And it's like, oh yeah. But Devin, what did you think of this movie?
I think this movie was the definition of average. Like there's nothing that it does completely wrong, but there's also nothing that it does that is a game changer in any way. Obviously you get two great actors at the center of it, Jennifer Lawrence, Brian Tyree Henry, and you have them work off of each other, and there's going to be some solid scenes and some good chemistry between them. I don't think they could have chosen a more perfect actor than Brian Tyree Henry to be the slice of life, like Southern New Orleans type guy. Like basically he sounded like his character from Atlanta, Paperboy, which is just perfect for him because he just nails that character. He's relatable, he's funny, he's just the normal average mechanic, and you can just sense that. And then Jennifer Lawrence playing the veteran who lost some brain function in Afghanistan, which is unfortunate, but she has to come back and try to relive her life in her city that she wanted to escape from initially. So it's kind of an interesting setup, and there's some good things that you can get from this story, but I just feel like it kind of falls flat a fair amount of times throughout the movie where there's just not a lot happening. When stuff does happen, there's some interesting dialogue back and forth, but for the most part, just feels like the writing could have been a bit better to support these two actors. If they had a little bit better material to work with, then maybe there could have been something here. But like I said, it's not bad in any way, but it's also just not really great in any way.
Okay. Yeah. So I kind of figured you would fall in that camp. I mean, I don't think it's the best movie in the world, but I think it is one of my favorite movies this year because it is about two broken people kind of just trying to get back to some sense of normalcy. And of course, like you had mentioned, Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry, it is a really great, like power cast here where there isn't a lot going on. Like you said, Devin, I think that's what drew me to this, what drew me to it altogether was the casting of this movie, and just reading the synopsis, I was like, oh, that seems like it's interesting. But it definitely is that like slice of life type of movie where nothing really happens. It's just a day in the life of two people trying to, find their way, and they're in New Orleans, I believe. So this super muggy Southern heat, they're also battling with. It's kind of just follows the aftermath of things that did happen in both of these two people's lives, and they kind of form some type of kinship or relationship altogether. I know with a lot of films nowadays, they try not to use there's a boy and a girl, of course they're going to get together type thing. For a good while in this movie, their relationship is completely platonic. But of course, I feel like with some platonic relationships, I feel like some feelings are able to be explored where, maybe it could lead into something else, but whether it feels right or not, that's a totally different situation.
That pool scene was just made you feel all the cringe, just what unfolded.
That was an interesting conversation, but you have, Jennifer Lawrence's character, blanking on the name of her character. I do apologize.
Lindsay,
that's what it was. So for Jennifer Lawrence's character, Lindsay, you see in the movie, and this isn't the first time that happened during the pool scene, where she doesn't necessarily mean what she says, but of course, I guess you can kind of blame it on her, misfortunes that happen over in Afghanistan, or maybe she was just always like that. She wants to go back, she wants to feel like her life is useful. And I feel like this movie definitely, I feel like it resonated with me just because I feel like we've all been there where you grow up, you graduate from college or high school, yada, yada, yada. And, you kind of just want to get out of your own hometown. And it felt like the city in New Orleans, or I guess they're in New Orleans or somewhere in Louisiana. I guess maybe in the outskirts of New Orleans. But, it seemed that Lindsay, Jennifer Lawrence's character, was kind of just tired of the same old, and she wanted to get out. And then I don't know. I really enjoyed it for what it was. Again, I don't think it's the best movie of the year, but I do feel like there is a lot of relevancy, at least for me. But I kind of just like the, just a movie where you can kind of just sit back, relax. You don't have to really expect any like big like action, scenes, like fight scenes, or, you have to worry about the CGI looking, up to par. But I feel like there were a lot of story beats here that kind of just, float naturally. And of course with the ending as well, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. But those are just my 2 cents about it. But I think that Brian Tyree Henry and Jennifer Lawrence had a great chemistry together, or not I believe they had great chemistry together, because it was just, I don't know. We haven't seen Jennifer Lawrence in a while, outside of Don't Look Up, because that she had her baby, and she was kind of MIA for a while, which understandably so. You have a kid, things start changing in your life, but yeah, I think it's a very emotionally like gripping piece of storytelling. It's no like, I don't know, what would be like another slice of life A24 movie, maybe 8th Grade.
The one that was kept popping in my head while I was watching, it was kind of funny, was Sound of Metal. It just kind of had the similar vibe, like the way it was shot and everything. And then once this movie reveals like the brother, it kind of had a funny connection to Sound of Metal that I wasn't expecting.
I was also thinking like maybe a close similarity would be like maybe if Beale Street Could Talk, possibly, or no, Last Black Man in San Francisco. It was kind of just, they kind of just living out their days all together. But yeah, I thought it was a fine film. It's definitely in my favorites of this year. I think on Letterboxd I have it rated. It's in my top 5. It's actually my number 3 as of right now. I'm going back and forth between that and Armageddon Time, which is another good movie I think people should watch that's now playing in theaters. But Devin, do you have anything you wanted to bring up before we kind of get into the spoilers section, or I guess just talking about the ending altogether?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this was actually shot in 2019, so we have yet to see postpartum Jennifer Lawrence on the screen yet.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I feel like Brian Tyree Henry definitely slimmed down, because the last movie we saw him in was, I believe it was Bullet Train.
I love the contrast between Bullet Train, Brian Tyree Henry, and this Brian Tyree Henry. Just such good range.
What about Fastos from Eternals?
Yeah, all of it.
All of it, man. Oh, it's so great. But
and of course, Jefferson Davis from Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. He really has a really great range. I love watching Brian Tyree Henry work his magic on screen. But yeah, I did not know that this was post pregnant Jennifer Lawrence or post Don't Look Up. So I guess that was, but yeah, I enjoyed it all the same for sure. But let's get into the spoiler section because there's just one small little detail that I do want to talk about because I think that was definitely like the heart and soul.
I also wanted to bring up why it was called Causeway. I was trying to figure it out. I mean, there was one mention when James's character mentions that he got into a car accident and it was on, I believe it was Causeway Street, is what he said. I was trying to figure out if there was anything else other than that.
Okay, I see. I mean, possibly. And sometimes I don't look too much into the naming of movies because usually they're pretty straightforward. Like, I'm not sure if you watch Cha Cha Real Smooth, which is also streaming on Apple TV Plus, but that title of that movie definitely has a you'll get it once you watch the movie. But yeah, maybe. I mean, it does deal around these mistakes that both of these characters have made, more so probably with Brian Tyree Henry's character. But let's get into our spoiler section so we can actually talk about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your first spoiler warning for Causeway again. That is your second spoiler warning for Causeway. So if you have not seen it, go sign up for Apple TV Plus if you haven't already. I know there's a bit of a price hike with a lot of these streaming services out there, but it's definitely worth a watch. And while you're at it, as of this recording, I'm not sure how long it's going to be there, but Apple TV Plus has added the entire Hunger Games film franchise for people to watch, just in case. I mean, outside of Mother, I really feel like those movies are Jennifer Lawrence's like best performing roles of her career. I mean, I would add this one to the list as well. But yeah, for a limited time, the Hunger Games series is or film franchise is streaming on Apple TV Plus. I don't know for how long, but as of this recording, it is. So if you're listening to this, go check it out. But let's get into our spoiler section here. So there's just a few things I guess we can kind of talk about, which really kind of circles around that pool scene. And a little bit prior to, as we see with Jennifer Lawrence's character and Brian Tyree Henry's character, they start to, form that type of kinship. We start to see that, James, Brian's character, James, he's feeling a bit lonely, everything that happened with his sister. Especially with his nephew. He has this big house that he doesn't like living in alone. And I can kind of understand that. Like, why would you want to, live in a big house all by yourself? So he kind of just wanted a little bit of companionship. And yeah, that whole pool scene kind of changes things because
I felt bad for you. Oh boy, that one was rough.
You know what? I feel like I feel like that's something I would say to somebody if I didn't like them, but it's like, I don't know. She kind of just blurted out because we saw earlier in the movie, like way earlier, when she's in the rehab center and she's talking to the, I guess you can say the agent, the rehab agent. She kind of slips out, says, "Oh, like you're a rehab, like agent," or I can't remember exactly what she said, but she said, like, "Oh man, like that's just like, that's so terrible." Like, what did she say? It was like, what a terrible way to live, or like, what a terrible job or something. And it's like, it just kind of came out of her, but I was like, wow. And then it happened again.
Speaking of the kiss, I kind of wish Ray would have done that to Kylo. Like, I just felt bad for you.
You know what?
No big deal.
We can bring this to Disney and be like,
we can retcon that in there.
I think so. I mean, I still haven't read the novelization of Rise of Skywalker, but whew, man, it's talk about the kiss that never made any sense. Like, I mean, obviously between Lindsay's character in this movie and James, like, I feel like there were some type of feelings there, but they kind of.
But she mentioned she doesn't roll that way.
Yeah. But it's weird because it's like she kissed him.
But yeah, she kissed him. That's the issue. Like she was like, just because I don't want to have sex with you, you're gonna walk away. He's like, no, you kissed me. What do you mean?
Exactly. But it was a perfect like misunderstanding because the entire movie we also hear about, we see more of Lindsay's home life, with her mother is kind of selfish in a way, but she still somewhat cares for her daughter. But, Lindsay kind of sees through her BS altogether. But, she gets a pool cleaning job. I was like, I guess that's therapeutic. But, the whole thing circles around, Lindsay's brother is in jail, which we don't find out until later on. But she does talk about him like as if he is dead, because we were led to believe, Lindsay had a brother. He was on a lot of drugs and then he passed away. And then she's like, what? No, my brother's not dead. And I was like, huh? I'm like, oh, I guess he could be in a rehab center. And then we actually get to meet the brother as well, which I actually thought was a nice touch, not just a, mention of a character that never appears on screen. But what did you think of what did you think of the ending? I guess knowing that A24 loves its ambiguous endings, especially with movies like The Green Knight, outside of Pearl and or X, but they do have a lot of ambiguous endings, especially with Waves as well. But what did you think of the ending? Or I guess how did you think the rest of that conversation would have went?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cute how she obviously brought back the same things he mentioned when he was drunk and offered her the first time to move in. Kind of the obvious callback that they threw in there. I think I don't think he should. She's got some issues, man. She needs to figure out herself before moving in with someone else.
Yeah, I feel like out of both of these people, it feels that James knows who he is, regardless of the actions that he has made in his own life, especially with his nephew, Antoine. And that was pretty heart-wrenching where, he find out, he had a couple of beers and he got into a car accident with his nephew, and he lost his leg, and he lost someone very near and dear to him. So it feels as if both of these characters are in a very depressive state. I don't know who's more depressed, but they do find some type of common ground. But I don't know. Like for me, I guess the happy ending would be, okay, yeah, you can move in with me, but it's going to take some time for things to get back to the way they were.
I feel like if it was the other way around, like everyone would be like telling her not to move in with him if he tried to kiss her.
I was actually thinking that myself, because I was wondering how they were going to tackle the whole, platonic relationship. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes, there could be, some form of feelings that both people may try to figure out. It's like, oh, is this more than platonic? But it seems that it has reverted back to that platonic relationship, which I totally feel like is fine. But I do agree, if it was the other way around, if he would have made the first move, yeah. But yeah, it's all on Lindsay. I mean, I don't know, man. It's a very interesting movie.
It feels like she's got nowhere else to go.
That too. Well, I mean, and we also do find out throughout the movie, she is trying to get back to the service, and she's talking to her doctor, her physicist, her physician, and he doesn't feel comfortable clearing her because even though we kind of see the struggle towards the beginning of the movie, and then moving into where she goes back to New Orleans, where she's slowly adapting, but she's not all quite there. But she does get the okay to go back to the service, but she chooses not to. So I don't know. It's very, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for this movie. And I think that's why I like it so much, is because she was so reluctant to leave, but now she wants to stay. And I think that's kind of goes into her character of, running away when things kind of get hard. almost in a way. I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. I don't know, that's just me. It's the weirdest thing with these movies, but that's why I love movies like this, because it is so ambiguous and it kind of just leaves you hanging. But it is that quality slice of life movie. But did you have anything else you wanted to mention before we get into our final thoughts and ratings?
I think we covered all of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think more people should watch it. It is a very interesting character study of how, if anything, how people from the service come back from war. Whether their injuries be internal or external, altogether, it kind of gives you an idea of how hard it can be to adapt back to civilian life.
I'm looking at a review now, and somebody said, "I watched Jennifer Lawrence eat cereal." That's her level of acting.
But she's such a good actor. She's so strong in this movie. I mean, they both are, and it's like if anything, it's like, man, like they just gave heck of performances, and it's probably one of my favorite A24 films to date. They're always pumping out stuff. They actually pump out a lot more than what they let on, but overall, so far, it's probably one of my favorite A24 movies of the year. Maybe not my favorite, but I would have to watch it again to kind of, it's short, sweet, and to the point, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. So, Devin, what would you give a rating for Causeway?
I'm looking at around a 60, just kind of in the middle range. Like I said before, it doesn't really do anything horribly wrong, but it doesn't excel at anything, except obviously the casting is just top tier with your 2 top stars here.
Yeah, for me, I gave it like a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, so I guess that would equate to maybe like a 75, between a 75 and 80, somewhere in there. I can't really pinpoint it because, again, I need to watch it again. I was hoping to watch it prior to us recording again, but that's okay. Watch Black Panther instead. So had to get myself, prepared for Wakanda Forever. But it's a very slow and like calculated, like precise movie. And I feel like that's where its power comes from. But yeah, I just like you said, I do agree. It is not the best movie of the year, but it's definitely not the worst. And it's not bad, but necessarily good. But for some reason, I just love movies like this. Like, I'm not sure if you've ever watched Whispers of the Heart. It's like an animated Studio Ghibli film where it's just about, I guess, a little bit more romantically involved, but it is just about a day in the life of like 2 characters and just having dreams of, leaving their hometown altogether. So it's, man, I mean, all I have to say is welcome back, Jennifer Lawrence. We missed you so much. I mean, outside of course, Don't Look Up, but I really hope we get to see more of her throughout for the years to come. For definitive sake, I'll give it a 75 out of 100 altogether. So yeah, definitely. I think it's worth watching, if you're looking for something, short, sweet, and to the point. I think that's what I really enjoyed about it as well. But overall, that concludes our review of Causeway. Again, that is now streaming on Apple TV Plus. So definitely go watch it. It is well worth it. And then after you're done watching that, go watch Cha Cha Real Smooth. And then after you're done watching that, go watch some Ted Lasso or something. I don't know. They have a lot of good stuff on there.
Severance season 2.
What's up? Severance. That's right.
Season 2.
Yes.
Coming soon, hopefully.
When is that coming? When is Severance coming? Because
hopefully next year.
I'm hoping to, because I am very excited for that. I'm very excited. I think Apple TV Plus has a really good portfolio of movies and shows, because they don't always pump out things like as fast as or as frequent, I should say, as Netflix, or I would say they're more on the slower side like HBO Max, but HBO Max is a little bit faster when it comes to their stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff on there.
The big issue is that they just don't have a backlog. They don't have a library.
I will say though, it is, you got to say it's impressive. They walked away. Apple walked away with a Best Picture winner with Coda, which Netflix has been trying to do for years. And it came down this past year for, the Oscars. It was pretty much going to be either Power of the Dog or Coda. I was hoping Dune would kind of just swoop in and kind of be the wild card there, because I would have been over the moon. But I'm very happy that Coda won. But they picked up this movie, and for Coda, they went all the way to the Oscars for it. That is a huge deal for streaming services, to say that, hey, a streaming service movie won Best Picture. Now all we need is a physical copy. Apple, if you're listening, I need that physical copy, like right away. Like Criterion Collection it. I don't care. I need it.
If you can ask for it, if you can sign and ask for it, like using sign language, maybe they can pull it off for you. You have to learn.
Maybe I'll get in touch with Troy Coster or Amelia Jones and see what they can work out for me. But I do agree. I mean, for Apple, they are the streaming service. I mean, it's like starting over from scratch. It reminds me of Netflix in a way, because do you remember when Netflix first launched with their streaming service? Like, they didn't have a lot of stuff. They had Orange is the New Black, Trailer Park Boys, things of that nature. I think for what Apple is doing I think they're doing very well with the content that they have been building. It's not like, with Disney where they can just plop all their backlog stuff on their HBO. But for an actual brand new streaming service, like starting from scratch, I think they're doing pretty well. And I think people should go watch this movie. With all that said, if you like what you heard on today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice, and make sure to share an episode of our podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, your lover, or your significant other. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. And really quick, what is coming up on the podcast for this coming up week, we're going to be covering a Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, aka Black Panther 2. That's going to be dropping hopefully the week, probably like the Monday or Tuesday after it hits theaters. So maybe like the 14th, 15th of November. Outside of that, I think Glass Onion's coming up soon, or is that in December for Glass Onion? I think that's December. No, that is November. We are watching that in November. That's right. So definitely look out for our Glass Onion review, which is going to be streaming on Netflix within the next few weeks. And what is out now on our podcast, you can listen to our Enola Holmes 2 review that just hit streaming this past week on November 4th. You can also listen to our House of the Dragon season finale, accompanied by Tessa, aka Mama's Geeky. And you can listen to our Black Adam review. All those episodes I just mentioned are available on podcast platforms around the internet. So with all that said, we hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. That was Devin. My name is Christian, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.